Welcome, everyone, to another night of Premium Takes. I'm your host, Adam. Riding with me, as always, are the Four Horsemen. They couldn't be here today, so I thought I'd ride solo, give you a little show, just to give you something on a Friday. Premium Takes coming at you tonight. What's going on, everyone out there? It's me, one of the Four Horsemen tonight. AC34 is up, Adam. AC's out there with you. Matt couldn't make it today. He's a little under the weather. Zion's working, and obviously our angel above, Jeffrey, always watching the show. But I thought I'd give you a few minutes of my time. Probably not going to be as long, obviously, because I don't have all the hosts with me. But thought I'd give you something, just to chew on if you are out there watching. So what's going on right now? The Olympic Games are back. I don't know about you, but guys, I'm pretty excited about that. Opening ceremonies, well, obviously they happened in the morning, so some people saw them, but I'm watching them tonight on NBC. They look spectacular. I'm excited about this. This is fans in about 4 years. So it's gonna be a little while, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. Um, um, you know, enjoy it. You know what I mean? You got Simone Biles, Kate Ledecky, I forgot the guy running the track. I forget what his name is, but we got a lot of athletes going on. Plus, some new sports. Breaking's a part of the Olympics now, as well as surfing and a few other cool new sports. So the Olympics are starting. It should be fun. Getting kicked off underway. They might some preliminary games have already started. Soccer, basketball, things like that. But it really gets started this week, and the next 2 weeks should be fun. And we're going to bring it to you next week, give you all the up to date medal counts, what's going on, all that stuff. So, um, right. So let's get into some things. NFL training camps have opened up, as many of you know, and it's going to be a great, great start to the NFL season. I think it's going to be a crazy, bonkers year. I'm really excited for it. A lot of storylines already developing, a lot of things already happening. So let's dive into a few things going on around the NFL. We can start with the Cowboys. They're in the news a lot because their quarterback and their receiver and their star linebacker all need money, right? So they all need to. What's up, no Mets? Just me riding solo today, so going to talk a little training camp, and then probably hop off. Not going to be too long, but some people like to watch the show anyways. So I thought I'd come and hold it down with people if they want to chit chat. They're more than welcome to, and chime in with whatever you got. Right. So, anyways, talk about the NFL. We're talking about Dallas Cowboys real quick because they're in the news right now. Again, their quarterback, their linebacker, and their wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, all need to get paid. And of course, their GM comes out and is kind of tiptoeing around everyone getting paid. And Dak Prescott said what he said. I've seen some of my great heroes move on to teams. And that's true. I never thought Joe Montana would ever leave the 49ers. And he left the 49ers. And that was a big deal when it happened. Reggie White leaving Philadelphia. That was a big deal. Guys don't always finish their careers with the teams that drafted them, especially this day and age with quarterbacks. And the way that they're hanging on these days longer and longer. Look at Aaron Rodgers. Did anyone think that he was ever going to leave Green Bay? I mean, he was a diva, but I never thought he'd leave Green Bay. But he's doing the exact same thing. Uh, Brett Favre did. So it's kind of interesting to see what they're going to do. Dak right now at the training camp is looking sharp. Why wouldn't he? Contract year, you want to put it on the line right now for everybody, and you know, um, I think he's going to have a phenomenal year. I wouldn't be surprised if Dak Prescott flirts with the MVP. I would not be surprised. A guy has a chip on his shoulder. He wants to be the highest paid um, quarterback, obviously, and he just saw Tua Tagovailoa get signed, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So you see, Dak Prescott is gonna wait in the wings. His turn is coming, and if that means for him to have one of his best years, that might be the best thing for the Cowboys. What if he let's play hypotheticals. What if he ends up going a deep playoff run? A deep playoff run. Yeah, Brady leaving the Pats. Like if he does a deep playoff run and has the leverage and he wins games, because the knock on him is he's not great in the playoffs, and I mean we take for granted like a guy like Tom Brady, like Metzer just mentioned, a guy who's there every year, right, and has sealed the deal 7 times out of 10 when he's been there, but he's been there countless times in his career, right? So we take it. We tend to see how hard it is to get there. So let's say Dak has a deep playoff run, and for all we know, ends up in the Super Bowl, right? Against whoever team, Kansas City, Baltimore. Let's just use one of those teams right now. Whatever one, pick your poison. We'll use Baltimore for this example, and let's say he happens to win, right? Th- That would be incredible leverage. Like No Met says here, he has to reach the NFC Championship game. I think he has to. If he reaches the NFC Championship game, his leverage is going to go through the roof. You're not going to want to get rid of him. You're like, all right, well, we're one step on the doorstep. You're gonna hope he plays well in that game, but like your defense gives up something. But with Mike Zimmer, I think their defense is going to be a little different, and we'll get into that in a second. But so I mean, I don't. But no Mets. I hear what you're saying about Jerry Jones, but what I don't agree with, to a certain extent, is that the mandate is Super Bowl. I mean, that might be for Mike McCarthy, but Dak Prescott. If you get rid of him, who do you have? You have an unproven Trey Lance. I mean, who are you going to go out and get? Kirk Cousins. I mean, they're in a conundrum right now because you have one of the best top 10. You have one of the top quarterbacks in the league, and you know you're going to get rid of him. I mean, like quarterbacks, and people tell me quarterbacks are hard to find. This guy puts up 45 and 30 a season, and I'm supposed to just find that. You're not going to find that again. Now, he has a lot to prove. Again, they went to the divisional round last year, so he's won a couple of playoff games. Now it's the NFC Championship game. They have a bullseye on their back. If you've seen what they've done in training camp, and this is why people need to understand what good quarterback play is, training camp. He's coming out and he's lighting darts all over the field. Mike McCarthy said, "You know what we're going to do? We're going to show CeeDee Lamb that we can still go down the field without him." And he throws a bomb to Brandon Cooks. Those are the type of things you need to see. He threw a great pass in the back of the end zone to Jake Ferguson. Cowboys are looking in midseason form. That's what happens when you're on a level like the Cowboys, when you're trying to win championships and not just win division titles and get to the playoffs. That's what separates them, the top two teams in the NFC East, with the two bottom teams. We're not really going to harp on that. We did the NFC East roundup show. Guys, go check that out. Me and Mac always do that on Wednesdays, but we're just doing overall NFL training camp and things that we're looking forward to, and just the overall atmosphere right now. It's pretty exciting around the league. But again, back to the Cowboys, we're talking about them. Let's move it over to CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb's going to get paid. He's a star. Jerry loves those stars. He loves them. Think about it. If Jerry Jones is smart, he's going to keep the quarterback, right? He's going to keep the wide receiver because that's what he does. He had Michael Irvin and Troy Aikman. You're not going to want to bring up CeeDee Lamb, even though they've traded receivers like Amari Cooper. They got rid of him and they brought on CeeDee Lamb. They do draft well, so they could bring in another guy potentially. But again, you're at a point right now where you're in Dak's prime. You're in his prime years where he's gonna probably get better or stay steady for the next 4 to 5 years. Do you really want to go that window away? Because now if you look in the division, you've got the Eagles bearing down your neck and you have Jade Daniels coming up behind you, right? So do you want there might be a changing of the guard if Dak Prescott walks out. Don't worry, Giant fans. I didn't mention Daniel Jones for a reason, but we'll get to him in a little bit. Um, so it's kind of just interesting to see what the dynamic will be and how much pressure really is on Dak Prescott. How much pressure will it take for him to get to the next round and carry his team, right? Because you got a pretty good team. Like they are, even though the Cowboys didn't make many moves this offseason, they didn't. They have a good enough team where they can, you know, make some noise in the NFC. And I'm excited to see what they're doing and how the NFC shakes out because there's a lot of pressure on all four teams, not just the Cowboys. But let's kick it over to Michael Parsons real quick. Not allegedly, no, man. It's not allegedly. There's video proof. Um, but Micah Parsons, he's not reported to camp yet. He wants a new deal as well. I think he's going to be he was a terror already, but I don't think Dan Quinn utilized him correctly. And I think they took him off the field a lot, which I didn't like in certain situations. And I think this year you're going to see him be more of a joker. in Mike Zimmer's defense. He's going to move him all around and try to get the best matchup for him on the field and kind of just let him rush the passer and not worry about dropping back too much. Just go create havoc. That's what he does best. I hate when defensive coordinators overthink it and have these guys dropping into coverage into the zone. Like these guys aren't meant to go backwards; they're meant to go forward. That's what they're meant to do. You want to go backwards, make him a real linebacker, make him a real DB or something like that. Then he can go backwards. But your muscle memory is to go forward. You're Micah Parsons for Christ's sake. Like get to the quarterback, wreak havoc on the field. Sometimes that can carry a defense, ruin a defense. Like I don't want to utilize this name, but Lawrence Taylor used to do that. He used to ad lib a little bit, right? And so ad it is what it is, right? Not everyone's going to follow the protocol or follow what's going on. So, you know, I think Micah Parsons just needs to be a wrecking ball. Everybody else play within the confines of the defense. Micah, go get the football. Just go get the football. It'll be nice and simple. I think they're going to pay him. He's a star athlete. The Cowboys love their stars. They're just dragging it through the mud a little bit because they like to do this type of business. It's like a song and dance. This is not them, right? The Cowboys are huge right now. They have three guys on their roster who could end up being, bona fide Ring of Honor type players. You don't get rid of those guys, especially when your window right now is great with your quarterback, right? Because Dak Prescott, again, is 30, but quarterbacks are playing into their 40s these days or close to it. So you think he has a solid, at least solid, good 4 years before he kind of drops off or something like that. And then, that window, he'll probably be playing as well. Look at Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's about 35, right? So you still got these guys playing. Rodgers is 38. I mean, Vinny Testaverde played till he was dead near 45. I mean, my God, my goodness. Like, so, you know, this is a crucial moment for the Cowboys and their team. So I think those three guys are gonna get signed. But let's shift some gears a little bit. Let's go to Miami. Okay. A lot of people are talking about Tua Tagovailoa, and every time somebody gets paid, that guy's always overrated or he's not the best, Same thing they were saying about Trevor Lawrence. And the thing is that Tua Tagovailoa had a good season last year. His first full year as a starter, not being injured, not having, remember, he came in 2020. He split with Fitzpatrick. 2021, he had an okay season. Then I think 2022 had an okay season. And then last year, he had a pretty good year. I mean, he damn near was the MVP. I mean, like we want to talk about production. Did he play in the big games? Let's be honest. He did get a little beat up in the in Kansas City, but who doesn't? Who doesn't? Who doesn't get beat up by the Kansas City Chiefs? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs here, man. Like they have Patrick Mahomes. They're the best football team. Going to Arrowhead, playing their first real playoff game. Remember, Tua did not play in the playoffs against the Buffalo Bills the year prior, right? Um, and people are going to complain he's not even the best quarterback. Dan Marino's the best quarterback in Miami. But let's take a look at this. Let's just take a look at the numbers, okay? Because that's what we really need to look at. The production is there. They built a whole offense. They have Odell Beckham Jr. now. They have Tyreek Hill still. They still have Jaden Waddle, right? So they're going to try to emulate the greatest show on turf. They really are. Like, look at that. And they got Achane in the backfield, right? So they are the modern day greatest show on turf. Like, I hate to tell you that, hate to use that comparison, but if you look at their skill position players and you look at, you know, well, not really. No Mets. Trevor Lawrence has better individual season stats. Their numbers are the same, and DJ's played 1 year more, and Lawrence has played 1 year less than Daniel Jones. So it's basically the first 48, which is what they're trying to get at. So it's not really the same. But like I was saying, Tua Tagovailoa, he got paid. He's getting paid. But they're the greatest show on turf. The Miami Dolphins right now are the modern day greatest show on turf. Remember, they had Aziz Hakeem. They had Isaac Bruce. They had Torrey Holt. Well, just change the names. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Odell Beckham Jr., right? Not to mention I think they have a decent tight end. I have to look up who their tight end is, but they also have Achane in the backfield, right? Who's an absolute, um, an absolute stud when it comes to speed. So, like, I'm not saying he's Marshall Falk. I don't want anyone to get twisted and be, very upset about that, because that's what people do about it. But they have Devin Achane in the backfield, right? Their tight end, they have Odell Beckham Jr. They've got Tyreek Hill. They've got Jalen Waddle. Those three alone are pretty good. And then, um, they don't really have a great tight end. So they'll be able to utilize those three guys any way they want. So Tua Tagovailoa, I know he didn't have a lot of passes that went deep, but he can throw some short passes. I'm telling you, buckle up, people. You thought last year was fast? If these guys stay healthy, a big if, Odell Beckham Jr. has been in that lineup for a long time, you know, um, it's going to be one of those things where we could be watching something crazy happening. And with the scoring that's going on, if I'm in fantasy, I'm drafting Tua Tagovailoa and probably his receivers because Mike McDaniel's got them going on. I don't know how good their offensive line's going to be. Robert Hunt has left, obviously, so we'll see how they hold up defensively. They have some moving parts. They do get back Bradley Chubb. They do get back Jalen Phillips, but they did lose Christian Wilkins. So their defense will be suspect. So we have to find out. They're not even the best team in their division. I would say that goes to the Buffalo Bills. I have to give it to them and prove it otherwise. But let's keep it in the AFC East. But like I said, last thing I'll say about Tua Tagovailoa, he does what he needs to do. We were going down his stats. Let me get to his stats before I move on to like the Jets, because I'm kind of intrigued to see what the Jets are going to do, and then we'll talk about another couple other AFC teams, and then or we'll kind of wrap it up with the Giants, and then call it a night for you guys. But we'll just get caught up with some training camp action, maybe some NFC action. If anybody joins the chat, we'll see if more questions come up. But yes, so Tua Tagovailoa he played in 10 games his first year, split with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Same thing in 2021. He played 12 games. He was ascending, and then he had 13 games. Right, he had 3,500 yards. So that's 13 games. I think they just started 17, if I'm not mistaken, that year. So he didn't play. He didn't play 3 to 4 games, and that could have been another, you know, 100 yards, 150 yards. He would have been close to 4,000 yards and probably add 4 or 5 more touchdowns. So he's almost close to 30 touchdowns. We got injured, right? Then he plays all 17 and throws for 4,600 yards, 29 touchdowns, right, and 14 receptions. But things happen, balls get tipped, and it wasn't even his best per season. It wasn't even his best pass attempt, per yards per pass attempt. Like right now, he throws 8.9, 8.3. He's averaging 7.7 yards a pass. He does throw the ball downfield. That yard per average completions, it tells you what kind of a thrower he is. If you're throwing 8 yards every time, or close to 9 yards every time, or 8.5 yards every time, well, guess what? Now you only have 2.5 yards, 3 yards to go, less than that, 2 yards to go, right? So you can do whatever you want to do in your playbook. If 6 yards a pop is really um, kind of pedestrian, but he throws for 8.3 yards a play. Now that is his receivers; they are dynamic, so we'll see. So I don't think he's overrated. I think for what they need to do, every quarterback that hits a certain plateau, 4,600 yards, 29 touchdowns, they're going to get paid like that. That's what you pay guys who do that for. If he comes out and has those same numbers, you're going to see what I mean. That's why you're going to start to look at that contract that New York gave, and you're going to be like, wait, that guy threw 15 touchdowns. Yeah, that's why he's only getting that much, and he'll never reach, Tua Tagovailoa stats. They even tweaked Matthew Stafford's contract, over there. So quarterbacks are the thing, but let's move on to another team. I want to talk about the Rams in a minute too, but we're just going to kick it around. It's NFC training camp, baby. You got to get ready. We're going to kick around some teams and just talk about it and just chop it up real quick and see what we can do. I know, we don't have the normal fan base we have today because I'm sure pretty much I'm on the line, so I know some people have already tuned me out. The bridges I've burned and the enemies I've made, or whomever. But if I'm the Joker to your Batman, well, then I'll be that. I'll be the guy that you come at, if you have to. If I say something crazy, because I know that's what happens here. But with that being said, we'll kick it over to let's talk about. I want to stick with the AFC right now. Right now, some teams that intrigue me. Um, Who? I don't know who. People, I enjoy myself, but people, who knows? But anyways, getting on to the Jets. The Jets are an intriguing team. They really are. They've got a stacked offense if they can put it together. They're getting some pieces together with the offensive line if they can put that together. And Aaron Rodgers is looking phenomenal at camp. See, how come nobody's making an excuse for that guy? Right? That guy's coming off an Achilles injury, right? And he's throwing darts all over his practice field, right? Second year in the offense. But our quarterback in New York for the Giants, coming off a knee injury, is overthrowing receivers left and right, and yet here we are. How how is that different? How is that any different than that? I don't wanna. I'm gonna don't worry about. I'm gonna take this off. Okay, just gonna hide this. That's where it doesn't really matter. No man. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't. That doesn't matter. You know. But anyways, the Jets. Um, I think they're an intriguing. I think they're an intriguing. Uh, an intriguing team. And why again? Why is nobody talking about that? How come Aaron Rodgers can go out after having Achilles injuries, you know, and um, you know, go out? Yes, please do, because that had nothing. I'm just talking in general and generalities. So I don't want to catch no smoke for no reason. You know, it's over. It's water under the bridge. You got to move on from it. But anyways, Aaron Rodgers. No one's catching flack for that guy. How come nobody's doing that? You know what I'm saying? How come nobody's doing that? How come nobody is um, you know, talking about him, right? Didn't he come off an Achilles injury? Isn't that one of the things that he did? He's coming off an Achilles, right? How come nobody gives him the same guff that, you know, because if he was coming out struggling, people would be much maligned. Aaron Rodgers, what is he doing? The Jets have a bust on their hands. Aaron Rodgers needs to retire. All that stuff would come out, right? What does he do? He comes out and he's throwing darts all over the yard, all over the yard. But again, the standard to which certain quarterbacks in this town are held to make no sense to me. Make none. Just doesn't think about that. Just think about it for a second. Our quarterback of the New York Giants. So I'm specifically talking about the New York Giants. I'll talk about the Jets, but I want to bring the overall point together. So I'm going to have to bring in Daniel Jones and the Giants, right? So Daniel Jones, love him or hate him, he's an average quarterback, and you're seeing that in practice right now, right? He's missing guys wide open. Wan'Dale Robinson, he missed. Sure, Brian Burns was there to make the sack, but you're not tackling that guy. What are you talking about? You're not. He's not hitting you, so complete the play. It's practice, right? You got to hit those plays. He had an interception because he forced it again to Malik Neighbors because Malik Neighbors in the huddle told him, "Get me the ball." So guess what? He now is getting you the ball, and now defenses know you're going to go there, and he's getting intercepted. Now I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers is not going to get intercepted, but think about this: Aaron Rodgers coming off a major injury, just like Daniel Jones, almost a year removed, right? Because it's closer to being a year than Daniel is. And so Aaron Rodgers is at practice lighting it up, throwing bombs down the field to Garrett Wilson and rolling out and making great throws and just looking like midseason form. But yet not one person is saying, well, he's rusty from last year. No, they're not. But when Daniel's doing, oh, don't worry, it's rusty as his knee. No, bro. No, no. He is who he is. That's the difference between a guy who's great and a guy who's average. You're going to get the inconsistencies to what Daniel Jones is. Drew Lock is throwing bombs down the field. He's thrown more deep passes than Daniel and has hit more guys. This practice for Daniel Jones today, I will tell you, people, was not good. I'm not trying to, you know, make it bad. I'm just being honest with you. It just was not good, and is not one of those ones you want to hang your head on. But again, I have to look around the league, and we're talking about a quarterback in Aaron Rodgers who's 38, far younger, probably 12 years. What I think he's 38, 39, maybe even 40. I could believe. So he's about 10 years, 10 or 15 years younger than older than Daniel Jones, and yet he can come back off his injury and right. No, 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 no. I'm not. No, no, no. Sorry, no, Mets. You got cleared to practice with your team. I'm not giving you an excuse. I'm sorry. I understand Aaron Rodgers is better. That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. If Aaron Rodgers came out and had a abysmal performance, they would be riding him out of town. He didn't. He came in and was Aaron Rodgers, right? That's what he was. So for me, so for me, So for me, if you're year six in the league and you're year three in the system, and the only thing that's really changed, I mean, personnel wise, everything a little bit's changed, right? But outside of that, what's changed? Brian Dable's calling your plays now. You can't. You're telling me you can't hit routine passes out of the backfield. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to complain. I'm just saying, you know, it's they both were playing in the spring. We saw it. Aaron Rodgers was playing in the spring. He was limited. He missed minicamp. He missed minicamp. Okay, he went on vacation for minicamp, and there was an uproar, much ado about nothing. DJ was there the whole time. Like we talk about chemistry and we talk about these things. All I'm saying is I expect more out of my quarterback who's been in the league 6 years and who's in the offense for three. He needs to be sharper. He doesn't. The excuses can't start now in training camp. Oh well, it's his knee because guess what? Then what happens if he's pedestrian in the games? Oh well, like you have the best receiving core you have, right? Malik Neighbor is going to command the ball. He's going to stare down receivers. He's already doing it in practice. Practice translates to games, bro. It does. And what I want to see to give me encouragement about my team is that my quarterback comes out that everybody talks about and props up on this pedestal. I need him to come out and be gangbusters. And the fact that he's this rusty coming out is not a good start for me. I want to find out what he does in the joint practices. But again, I was just talking about the parallels to Aaron Rodgers and and the same thing. Kirk Cousins coming out, he's looking phenomenal as well, too. I've got rookies who haven't even played in their offense. You got Caleb Williams is tearing it up in practice. Jaden Daniels is having some good practices. Yet our 6-year guy, we make excuses for. I'm just saying, this is the light. This is where we are in our fan base. So, you know, getting back to the Jets specifically, I was just talking about parallels and how it's funny how when one guy does something, the other guy, you know, doesn't get the same recognition or there's an excuse built in already, and it just gets tiring. Now, I'm not, if he comes out and he proves me wrong, great. You proved me wrong, great, good job. But right now, you're not off to a good start, and I feel like, to be honest with you, I think he's going to be in his head a little bit for many reasons. One, he did see Hard Knocks. They asked the first question they asked him out the gate. That is something that's going to be in the back of his mind. It just is. Just think about that. It just is. It's always going to be there. And the fans know it now. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows they're trying to replace you. So now you're under the microscope even more. You have this new weapon, and you're already forcing passes to him right now, which is what I said was not good for Daniel. I did not want Daniel Jones to get a guy like this because I knew he was going to force it to him because a guy like Malik, who already told him in practice, just throw me the damn ball, and I'll go get it. That's the type of shit that's going to happen. Stare downs and interceptions, more so than they already have. But getting back to the Jets real quick. They have Brees Hall, another couple of good weapons. I really hope they can put it together. They lost. Right now they have Hassan Reddick who's holding out. Um, you know, we'll see if that gets done. They do have a couple other guys in Johnson and McDonald who can rush the passer as well. And then they're making some moves, right? So we'll see. Again, the Buffalo Bills are the kings of that division until proven otherwise. And then Miami Jets, Bills, and then who else? Who else? Bills, Jets. Miami. Oh, the Patriots. And the Patriots are if you look at Drake May, again, another quarterback we tried to get, he's hitting bombs to Aguilar and it's a rocket. And you're just watching the velocity of the ball come out. It's gonna be fascinating to watch that team and the evolution of it as they are, because they're probably gonna be bad. And that's a team that we're probably gonna call up this draft, say, hey, listen, you got your quarterback in Drake May, you're sitting at number 4, we're sitting at 6. Let's trade up because we're gonna want to get Carson Beck or whatever the thing is, yes, the stare downs. That's what's going to happen. No Mets, no Jets. The stare downs. You can say you can say that he won't be here, um, but there's other guys like AR-15 is doing well with the Colts. I'm just saying I want a guy who's going to be my starter to be a little sharper coming out the gate. That's all. But kicking away from the AFC a little bit. I was just talking about different teams. I want to stick with the Bengals. I want to go over to the Bengals now. I think they're on a mission. I love Joe Burrow. That's my second favorite team is the Bengals. He's going to be my quarterback. I'm planting my flag in the Joe Burrow camp because that's what I would want if I'm a Giant fan. That's what I would want to covet is a guy like Joe Burrow. Yeah, look at that personality, right? Hair's all you know blonde now. You can call him some shady. Some people reference him as Cody Rhodes. And if we're going to use the wrestling reference, finish your story, Joe Burrow, which is get over the hump, beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and kind of get over that hump here. And I hope he does. He had the wrist injury last year, and he's trying to work his way back from that. I hope there's no long term effects on his arm. But he's one of the guys I miss. He's one of those guys that I truly, truly, truly do believe we miss in the NFL. That we miss having around. That we miss seeing. Right? Because we saw Jake Browning play behind him, but let's be real. Jake Browning is caca. Okay, you pay the big bucks to Joe Burrow because you know that he can deliver you to the playoffs, and once you get there, you hope he's the goods. So I'm looking for a big season out of Joe Burrow. I'm excited for him. I really hope that he can put it together and stay healthy. I don't want him to be one of those quarterbacks that we go, what if? What if he stayed healthy? What if, he didn't get injured? What if? Kind of similar to Carson Palmer, where, Carson Palmer had a great career and was off to a great start with the Bengals, and he tore his knee up, and then he was never the same again, you know? Oh no, I will give management the blame for giving him the bag. That is malpractice on the part of the GM to not evaluate properly the value of Daniel Jones. Everybody knows how it should have went down. It should have went down, franchise him, sign Barkley, and away you go, right? But here we are, and we're in this conundrum right now, hoping that he's going to be better. Even with good talent, he's still doing some of the old habits that we're seeing. He's putting up murder balls in practice and things like that, things that are going to get guys killed. And to be honest with you, I don't think his knee is fully healthy. I don't. That's his plant leg, people. It's not like Carson Palmer, where Carson Palmer blew out the front of his knee, his left knee, right? Because he's a right-handed quarterback, his left knee's in front. Daniel Jones blew out his right knee, and that's your power knee. You know, uh, but you know, it's all sides, all sides are at fault. Not just Daniel Jones. I think Daniel Jones didn't help the Giants, but I also don't think that the Giants are helping him now. There's no excuse this year. I mean, you have Jaden Waddle, you've got Wandell Robinson, not Jalen Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, Wandell Robinson, Malik Neighbors. Okay, you've got a plethora of other receivers on this team. There's no, you know, you know what I mean. So it's the QB got. Yeah, I understand it's the QB that we got, but I'm not. It doesn't excite me. Is all I'm saying. When I'm looking around the league and watching rookies having better starts to their training camp than a 6-year pro. That's all I'm saying. You know, but again, I was going with the Bengals for a little bit. I think they're going to be interesting to watch. Jamar Chase, there's a lot of chip on their shoulders. There's a lot of fun starting with these teams. A little trash talking happening between teams. Teams are flexing their chests a little bit right now. I kind of like the vibes that are coming out like the AFC because they know that the Kansas City Chiefs might be a little vulnerable this year. If you look what the Raiders did, they put Kermit the Frog puppet for Patrick Mahomes. That's not the guy you want to poke the bear. If anything, you do that like with Daniel Jones. You make him like a, you know, uh, a Pee Wee Herman doll or something like that, right? Like Daniel Jones and a Pee Wee Herman doll. That would be, my insult to him. Like that, if I was going to insult him, right? And you're insulting Mahomes as Kermit the Frog. Pee Wee Herman would be Daniel Jones, right? And so to me, I don't want to poke the bear any more than I already did. If I'm the Raiders, I'm not saying a damn thing because I mean it's gonna make for great theater. That's for sure. It's gonna make for great theater. The rivalry is gonna be a little built up. That's what Antonio Pierce is kind of doing, allowing these players to be a little bit more free, have a little bit more edge. They're playing like the Raiders. If you know the Raiders, if you know the Raiders history, guess what? They are being the Raiders right now. They are embodying the Raider Nation. They are embodying what that franchise is about by doing these little jabs in the AFC West. And listen, look, you know, you're excited, I guess. You like your quarterback situation, you like your team, you think it's coming together. So, but I would not have poked the bear like that. I'm just me. I'm just me. The guy who's you don't want to give him any more motivation. A guy like Patrick Mahomes, you don't want to give any more motivation to because he's going to stick it to you. He's going to stick it to you, and he's going to stick it to you good. No problem, Zion. Just kicking it for the fans. Listen, management stinks, man. Management stinks. They already our backup safety's already injured. We let McKinney go. We're letting Barkley go. Our GM doesn't want to pay a $12 million running back and a $40 million quarterback. It makes no sense to me. Why wouldn't you want the best of the positions? That's how I look at it. If you're paying Barkley, you're paying one of the top players at your position. But hey, again, we're talking NFL, we're talking training camp. I don't want to stick strictly Giants because I want to show you a little bit more of my prowess with the NFL and not just one team and allow you to just join this discussion. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be on here, maybe another 20 minutes at best. But I do thank you for the few that are out here, hanging with me right now. I'm just riffing it, just having some fun, talking about some things that, I'm seeing here and there and just seeing what your thoughts are. I'm just bouncing around team to team. There's no real order, set order. Just whatever team pops into my head that I want to talk about, I'm going to jump to them and hope you guys can follow along. But that being said, Joe Burrow, I would not have poked the bear if I'm Kansas City. I mean, the Raiders. That's all. That's all. That's all. I wouldn't have poked the bear if I was the Raiders because again, motivation is key, and you don't know what gets people up. But making fun of somebody, calling him Kermit the Frog, that team's going to rally behind him. That team's going to want to win that game. It's kind of similar to what's going to happen, I think, with the Eagles and Barkley when they come play New York. I think the Eagles, who a lot of people are making fun of Vic Fangio because the Bryce Huff they got here, and they're like, oh, you don't know if he can drop back. That's training camp, right? The guys, they'll figure it out. Let them figure it out. That team is very talented. I think they're off to a good start, the Eagles, in terms of what they're doing and how their defense is coming together. Devin White is going to be an absolute monster on that team going sideline to sideline. People will realize who that is. And so yeah, I'm freestyling. What? Yeah. No, Matt, just playing. But anyways, yeah. So I just think the Eagles are gonna circle those two games. Motivation plays a key in a lot of things. Like, what are the Giants motivated? Every team they're playing has a motivation against them, right? They're playing the Minnesota Vikings. Guess what? They beat Minnesota, which they do have a good history. They beat Minnesota in the playoffs. They've been talking about how bad Minnesota's defense was and all this stuff. They've heard it all. Okay, Brian Flores is on that team. He has history with the Giants, like with the Giants and what went on. So there's gonna be some bad blood. So whatever motivation you give, don't give teams motivation. Don't let them have that because that extra edge sometimes is all that is needed to kind of just be like, oh, we just want to bury this team. If we lose any games, we don't care. We just want to bury this team. And that's what I think is going to happen with the Eagles. They don't give a crap if they're 2-14 or 2-15. I know with this extra games throwing me off. I can only do even numbers, folks. But 2-15, and they're going to circle it for Barkley. They are with all the stuff and all the drama that's happened with Hard Knocks and the GM not signing this guy and this guy doing this and being thrown on the bus here, they're circling that game. And they're going to come to play and they're going to want to win the game for him. And again, he's going to give away trade secrets. I do believe he will. So that defense is going to have an advantage. You don't think he knows some weaknesses about his best friend DJ? Come on, man. You don't play there no more. That's what people do. But what's interesting? You know what I thought about? Brock Purdy. How come people destroy Brock Purdy? Like, there's guys watching his film right now and he's releasing the ball and they're like, oh, he's looks so good. Why is this guy a seventh round pick? Sometimes you're a seventh round pick because you just happen to go to a school and play football there, right? And you get to the right system and you someone who can expand your traits. Say why Brock Purdy works is because Kyle Shanahan knows what works well for him, right? So he's not just this guy, he fits the system. Sometimes when you fit a system, you look better than you are because that's what you do, right? And he right now, he's a little bit above that. He's above average. He might get better. He might actually get better. And the reason is because he has pocket presence. People don't talk about that as much anymore. We don't, when we break down the games, right, and we look at things and we see checks and balances that go on, you know, Peyton Manning was the best at this. Peyton Manning would come to the line, and he would look at you and he would be like, Rover, 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 Rover. You know? So it is what it is. It is what it is. Well, they don't have these quarterbacks don't have that autonomy because from college, if you look at the college game, they're not asked to do that. They're not asked to read a complex defense. No, they're asked to read one read or two reads or, hey, this safety or we're playing Appalachia State, throw the ball downfield. They don't have to do the diversity that a lot of these other quarterbacks have had to do. And that's why the game has become so dumbed down. Now, a lot of things are happening now where you're getting receivers all over the place as gadget players, right? And you throw a little dink and dunk, so the receivers are going downfield. So, and that's adding to the yardage, right? When the quarterback's going to matter, it's going to matter in those big games, those big drives, those big moments. It was funny. I was watching Eli Manning highlights. They were on, and it was a play. It was Eli Manning coming back against the Philadelphia Eagles, and Joe Buck and Troy Aikman are calling the game, and they basically said something along the lines of Eli Manning wasn't pretty for the first three quarters, but the fourth quarter and overtime, he delivered when his team needed him the most. And that sometimes can be more beneficial than just being a quarterback. And that's what we haven't seen out of a lot of teams and a lot of quarterbacks. And we don't hold them high. And then the other thing that we do is we poo-poo them when they choke in one game or two games here, right? Like Justin Herbert, case in point, right? Justin Herbert goes to the playoffs, has a solid playoff game, which would be good for by anybody's standards. 276 yards and a touchdown, right? Moving his team up and down the field. And then boom, what happens? His team on defense doesn't stop him, right? So like when we talk about quarterbacks, we got to look at the overall circumstance, right? We can't just say that they're not good. We got to understand why they're not good. If you watch Brock Purdy, he was good. He wasn't great in the Super Bowl. He got outplayed by Patrick Mahomes, but for the first quarter and the fourth quarter, he was pretty good. If he did anything in the second and third, they probably win the Super Bowl. But because he was average and not like magical like he was, they only ended up, they didn't end up, winning that game. But I think, Brock Purdy this year is going to take it to another level. I'm excited for the entire NFC West. It's going to be fun. I don't think the Cardinals are going to necessarily win, but I want to see what Murray to Marvin looks like. I want to see what Matthew Stafford's got left in the tank. That guy's a Hall of Famer, and people don't know it. You want to talk about quarterbacks producing with a shitty O line and shitty things around him and having basically one player. That guy did it for 9-10 years with um, Detroit, and he's one of the clutchest quarterbacks in the NFL. And last year they almost beat the Lions. People forget about that. They almost beat the Lions with a suspect defense. So, I know they lost their corner now, and I'm sure they'll be in the corner market. I wouldn't be surprised they signed Stephon Gilmore or a guy like that. off the squad as it gets closer and closer. Because to me, that's a guy that can help a defense out like that. Um, we'll see what Seattle does. I think Seattle's going to be in the mix for the playoffs. I think they have a solid. He's the most underappreciated quarterback in the NFL. He really is. He does so many things. He'll go to Hall of Fame. It'll be the quietest Hall of Fame career you ever heard. But it'll be one when you look back, you're like, damn, that guy was pretty good. And we should give him more credit. The problem is he came into the twilight of the Rams' career. He's still producing now. Like, I mean, he started at 900 yards last year, almost 4,000 yards. Like, and he's tough as fucking nails. Like that guy, I would want that guy to start on my team. Like, do I want him now? No, and no. But if the Giants made a trade for him at some point, I would understand it. And the Rams are going to be relevant again because again, their quarterback is who he is. So, you know, um, you know, so it is what it is. He's a great player that's underappreciated and underrated, and kind of there. So then let's go to the AFC, the NFC. We did Seattle. I was just mentioning Seattle. I think Seattle's interesting because they play championship caliber games, but don't always come up big in those games. Like sometimes, and I think last year Geno Smith, who has proven, you know, that he's a good quarterback. I don't want people to think that Daniel Jones is going to be like that because he's not. Geno Smith had talent, and it just wasn't harnessed right. Daniel Jones is just not that good. So I don't want people to be like, oh well, we're going to wait 6 years because look what they do with Geno Smith. Sorry, not happening. Geno Smith's a better quarterback than Daniel Jones already, even though he hasn't had to start in numbers. But I think Seattle is building something out there. We'll see if they can get over the hump this year. They're going to be in the playoff mix, I think, in the wild card. You know, yeah, you never know with these quarterbacks. Well, Carson Wentz was pretty good, and then he blew out his knee. I mean, after that knee injury, he was never the same, right? Um, which again, you could say the same thing about Daniel Jones, right? A lot of these running quarterbacks, Carson used to run a little bit. He used to be athletic. Robert Griffin III blew out his knee, never was the same again, right? So how do we know that Daniel's going to be the same with his knee? We knee injuries for quarterbacks are devastating, are very devastating. Achilles injuries as well are devastating as well. But I think Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers will get over it because they're just overly smart and they know what they do and they can anticipate things. But Daniel doesn't have that, so that's another thing I worry about. It was like, you know, those type of injuries are hard to come by and hard to recover from. So, but again, but you brought up Jared Goff. Let's talk about him for a minute. He's a much maligned quarterback that went to a Super Bowl with the Rams, and most teams would keep your quarterback that brings you to the Super Bowl. But they thought we needed a better guy, and they got rid of him in his prime, and they didn't think he would get him to a Super Bowl. And let's be honest, he's been to two NFC Championship games. You know, he's had a solid career. If you were put him up against Carson Wentz, he's had the better career than Carson Wentz. That's for sure. He's resurrected his career with the Lions. A guy who, if you look at his numbers, wasn't really as bad as people make it out to be. He got poo-pooed because of Sean McVay, and I think Sean McVay, not I don't think he poo-pooed him on the way out, but the way they did it and the way they went about it and how they got, because Jared Goff had like 3,400 yards his first year with the Lions, and then he had like 4,200 yards in the year that they went, they came back, right? Because remember the year prior, before they went to the championship game, and last year he had over 4,000 yards again, and then they signed him to a long term deal. And right now, you have to think they're the odds on favorite to win, right? Because they're not afraid of the 49ers. They probably should have won that game if Dan Campbell doesn't do dumb shit. But hey, he's stuck with his guns. If you're gonna live by the going for it, you're gonna die by going for it. So that's what he did. So you can't really complain too much about that. If you're Detroit, you got to be excited. Amon-Ra St. Brown, absolute stud. Their offense is got a dynamic 1-2 punch. Their offensive line is built good. Hey, Joe Shane, maybe we should take a page out of this book. Their defense is solid. The core pieces that they built around it. They're gonna be a force to be reckoned with. And then, not to mention, you have in their division the Green Bay Packers. I mean, they're going to be pretty good. Jordan Love is going to get paid, so they got a team to be reckoned with. You got the Caleb Williams led Bears. He's going to probably um, have some good games in there, and it's very exciting around the league to just watch what's going on in the evolution of the game and the teams that are gearing up and the teams that are already in training camp that are hitting their stride. I'm looking forward to year two of CJ Stroud. Does he slump or does he keep going? Is this Andrew Luck part two? Right? Is this the guy that we see that takes over the league that is breaking records after records after records? Right? I can't wait to watch that and Trevor Lawrence go at it. As much as we were talking about Trevor Lawrence early on and about how he's same as DJ, he's not, because if you look at his numbers, 3 years he's played. In 2021 he was drafted, right? He had 3,600 yards. He had 4,000 yards in 2022 and 4,000 yards in 2023. So Daniel Jones has like 3,000, 2,000 something, 2,000 something, 2,000 something, and I think 3,000 yards, right? So it's not even comparison when you talk about it, right? And I think we have to see if Trevor Lawrence steps up. You have AR-15 that's down there, that in the AFC South, that's going to be throwing the rock all over the place. I mean, think about that. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to be fun to watch. Not to mention the Tennessee Titans, who, by the way, took a second round quarterback, right, and got rid of Ryan Tannehill for that guy, and brought in Calvin Ridley and all this stuff. Because they're high on the Colts because of what they did last year. They basically were in the playoff hunt up until the last game. They knocked the Jaguars out of the playoffs. If you remember that, Jaguars win and they're in. And even if the Houston Texans won, they would have been in, right? But they didn't, and Texans won the division and got into the playoffs. And the Colts ended up being 9-8, and they had that record with Gardner Minshew, so you would think bringing back AR-15, a lot of people are just excited about what he can bring to the table. So that's why they're doing it. Plus, their defense wasn't bad last year, so I think they're going to be fun to watch. I think they're going to be good. But again, like, these are what I'm talking about, on the cusp playoff teams. There's many of them. There's many clustered in the NFC as well. That if you're a Giant fan, you got to be like, man, we've got to win a lot more of these games because we have to outpace the Falcons. We have to outpace the Buccaneers. We have to outpace um, uh, who's the other team? New Orleans Saints, right? Those teams, those three teams right there could be fighting for a wild card spot, right? Not to mention you have to outpace Green Bay, the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Rams, and all these other teams like Seattle. Like, there's a lot that's going on that you have to do to be perfect and win those games and get there. And that's what I'm saying. And these other teams are looking at the Giants like, we need to win this game because we need to get to the playoffs. You look at the AFC North that we played, right? Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, all of them are fighting for the playoffs. The top two teams are fighting for the Super Bowl, Baltimore and Cincinnati. And the other two teams are at least fighting for the playoffs is what they want. And they both have solid defenses. And they're going to look at the Giants and say, we don't want to lose the division or get kicked out of playoff contention because of commonality and common opponents. And they're going to try to beat the Giants when they come in there. And then like that. So when you're a winning team, you look at games like that on your schedule and you try to play the best games. You don't want much of a letdown, especially when you're in the same division. Because if you come down to it, right, and you get let's say Baltimore and Cincinnati end up with the same record, right? But Cincinnati happens to lose, or Baltimore loses, or whomever loses to the Giants, right? But they have the same division record and they have the same conference record. Then it comes down to common opponent, and if you have more common opponents beaten than them, that'll affect you. So it's going to matter, right? It's going to matter. So the AFC North is going to be strong this year. I think there's a lot of teams, a lot of clusters. It's going to make it fun. And then when they make it 18 games, I'm sorry, folks, when they make 18 games and it's coming, you're going to see mediocre teams getting into the playoffs. Like, you're going to see a team that's 7-10 make the playoffs, and that's what's going to it's going to be hopefully the competition will be better, and a lot more of the better teams that deserve to be there will get there. But if you go to 18 games, you're gonna see this thing. But maybe we should close on that note. So we're going on about an hour. I'll take you guys to the full hour, give you a full hour of premium takes with me riding solo. This is where I guess, I'll be Ric Flair and, off to the singles I go, but never forgetting where I came from, right? Haha, just kidding, guys. Never replace any of you guys. You guys are great. Love the Horsemen. But, you know, this is training camp. This is an exciting time. But again, when you look at training camps across the league, keep a close eye out when you're looking. Look at the footwork. Look at the passes. Look at some of the stuff that's going on, right? Full hour, Dolo. Yeah, I'll give you the full hour. It's only 5 minutes, right? Less than that. So, when you're out there and you're watching training camp, NFL Live, and all this stuff, just take some things with a grain of salt because that's what a lot of people are going to tell you right now. Oh, a grain of salt, 3 days into camp. No, sit back, ask yourself some questions, look at other quarterbacks or players across the league and see how they respond. And that'll give you your answers to some of these questions because training camp does provide a landscape to which you can tell where your teams are going um, and how they're performing. It usually I mean, you look at the Cowboys, we were talking about them, we'll circle back right? They got their quarterback Woods back, right? He's coming off. Remember, he bled his knee last year. Well, he's back now, so that improves their defense greatly. So well, thank you, no Mets. I appreciate it. So these are the type of things we got to see, and we gotta wait. The stories are writing themselves. But like I say every year, you got to get up for this because this is the march for the Lombardi. It starts right now, and a lot of teams are looking up at that Lombardi right now, saying, "Why not us? Why can't we do it?" AFC. You're looking at Kansas City. This is the most vulnerable time they're in. Three-peat. The pressure's on. Can they do it? Will they be able to do it? They're not the same team that they were. They're still not as strong as they were. They're getting some moving parts in here. Yes, they are. They have the best guy there, but are they right for the picking? Will Josh Allen ever overcome come that team? What will be the Bills? Who are the Jets? Like there are so many fun question marks that will bring you in. Limousine riding, jet flying, that'd be me, right? Riding solo. Woo! So, you know, just look at that. Enjoy the preseason and training camp, but don't get overhyped in the games and anything like that. Look at more of the one-on-one matchups. Look at more of the fundamentals. Look at more of some of that stuff. Those will give you hints as to where it is. Because right now, I'll tell you right now, something's not right in Giantland. Like I said, the defense has been penetrating this offensive line. We already have some injuries. We have 5 guys on pup list already. It's like it's starting. Malik Neighbors is already telling his quarterback to get him the ball. This could be one of those relationships because Daniel's not an alpha dog that it could get dicey. So, you know, we'll see what goes on this year, right? It should be fun. It should be fun. Buckle up. That's all I gotta say. Buckle up because there's gonna be a lot of stuff happening, a lot of drama flying, a lot of these good games. I think the Giants have 7 wins at best. At best, 8 wins. 8 wins. But really, what does it matter if they don't make the playoffs? Right? At the end of the day, this team's in year 3. They need to make the playoffs. This is about making the playoffs. You don't have excuses time. You didn't bring in a quarterback. You didn't draft a quarterback. You paid Daniel Jones as a top guy. It's time to be in the NFC Championship game. And if you're not, it doesn't matter to me. You should all be fired because this roster is not where it needs to be. If you think they're going to win 8 games, then that's you. I can't tell you how to fan. I can't tell you what to say or do or how to even look at it. But um, I don't know. What I don't want to see is this. If the Giants are having a bad year, trade your guys. Trade the guys that aren't going to be here. If you're having a bad year and Ojulari is doing well, trade him. Don't do what you did this offseason and just let guys walk out the door for nothing. You know, it's either you're in the playoffs or not. If the Giants get if the Giants are what 7-10, 8-9, that's 2 games better, but you didn't make the playoffs. And we got a coach of the year candidate, and you didn't make the playoffs. What you're going to be? What middle of the road now? You're going to be 15, so you're not going to trade up because if you don't make the playoffs, Daniel's not coming back here. I don't want to hear, oh, we improved 2 games. No, that's it. You're done. Sorry. This is it. This is his year. You've got to show me that you're Baker Mayfield at least. That's the standard, fellas, ladies and gentlemen. That's the standard. Baker Mayfield is the standard. 4,000 yards and 26 touchdowns. That is your standard. If you can't cross that threshold, I don't want you on my team. I'm sorry. I don't. You know, you can say what you want about Baker Mayfield, but that's the number you need to look at. That's what gets you in the top 15 of quarterbacking. That's what gets you to the Pro Bowl. That's what I mean, unless you're Gardner Minshew, you can vote it in like that. But like that's what people start to recognize. 4,000 yards and start to go, let's see you do it again, right? Plus, the injury history is also a big factor. And you got to just find out what's going to happen. Like our quarterback doesn't inspire me to say, oh, we're going to win 8 games. And like I said, the narrative should be NFC Championship game. It should not be win 8 games and hope to be a playoff team. It should be NFC Championship game because if you miscalculated in 2022 and retooled in 2023 because you thought you were a playoff team, well, guess what? It doesn't just dip because the moves you made this offseason don't tell me you were building. It tells me you're trying to build Daniel Jones up and trying to make him look good. But at the end of the day, you're also trying to win, right? And Malik Neighbors was a winning move. It's a luxury pick. It was a pick for a team that needed a quarterback. Look at Jamar Chase. Bengals could have went anywhere. They happened to fall there because of the injury to Joe Burrow, and they took a receiver, and it worked out because they already had a quarterback on the roster that worked out. So the Giants will be competitive. They're going to get burned. I mean, their young secondary is getting toasted left and right, which is not. If you're getting toasted by Daniel Jones, and Daniel can't even get the ball to the receiver, that's how bad. That's how bad we're talking. These guys are beating. There was one pass play, and I don't mean to. And I'm going to end it with this. I'm going to try to wrap it up after this, but there's one pass play I saw. Jalen Hyatt was wide open by 5 yards, and Daniel waited till the last minute to throw the ball. 5 yards. You're getting cooked, and I'm just saying the DBs are getting cooked by our receivers, and then our quarterback is making these guys look bad. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, it's training camp preview. It's been a fun full hour. I can't believe it went that fast. When I first started talking to you guys into this microphone, I was like, man, how am I going to drag this out for an hour? How am I going to give them some good content? I feel like we had a lot of fun tonight. We talked about a lot of different topics, a lot of different teams, kind of previewed the NFL and some training camp stories that we can follow throughout the next few weeks. And I hope you really enjoyed it. Like we always say on Premium Takes, put them floors up for our fallen angel. Put your floors up. It's floor time, baby. It's time to go. I had to ride solo today, just because the guys were, they were chilling. Zion, he had to work late, and Mac had was a little under the weather. So you know what? I had some free time, and I said, you know what? Show must go on. And I'm going through some things, so this was an outlet for me to kind of share with you guys and kind of get away from this distraction that is going on in my life right now. So I thank you guys for giving me some time, and I hope you enjoyed the show. And we will be back next week. Full house will be with me. I'm sure Mac will be with me. Um, um, but that's basically that's all we got. So again, this has been another episode of the Premium Takes podcast. I'm Adam. Here, salute to my fellow comrades. Love you all. Appreciate you all. Have a great weekend. Have a great night.